The objective today is to add, subtract, multiply, and divide functions. For this problem, you're given 4 functions, and then you're given a problem to evaluate down below. What you do when you see something such as this, a plus c, that means a plus c of 2 is when you plug 2 in for the a function and get an answer, and then add it to whatever you get for plugging in 2 into the c function. So if you take care of this piece here first, if you plug a 2 into the a function, that's x squared. So if you put a 2 in, 2 squared is going to give me a 4. If I put a 2 into the c function here, that's 5 times 2 plus 2. 10 plus 2 is 12. So we come up with a value of 16 for that very first piece. Again, a plus c of 2. You're putting a 2 into the a function and getting an answer of 4. Then you're putting a 2 into the c function and getting an answer of 12. So 4 plus 12 would be 16. But that's only part of it, because now you have to go over to this one. BC of 3. When you see B and C written together, that means they are multiplied. And I'm putting in a 3 into those functions. So if I put in a 3 into the B function, I would have a negative 3 plus 4, which comes out to be 1. But now if I put a 3 into the C function, I have 5x, which is 5 times 3, and then plus 2 is 15 plus 2, which is 17. So I have 1 times 17, which is 17. And don't forget the operation between the two is minus, because you have this in here. It's given to you in the formula, or in the expression. And then last, we have to move down here to this one, d minus a of negative 1. You have to put a negative 1 in for d. So we'll move over here and do that. If I put a negative 1 in for d, I get negative 1 minus 2, which is a negative 3. And then if I put a negative 1 in for a, I'm squaring negative 1 to get 1. But don't forget the operation between the two is minus. So negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. So now I have a plus sign to put in there, and that comes from this plus sign here. So the only thing left is to do an order of operations problem, which is 16 minus 17 is negative 1. And then plus a negative 4 is going to give me an answer of negative 5. Your first move on this would be to simplify this item in here. And if you look at the 2, which is missing a set of parentheses, there we go. You're going to put 2 in for the a function. When you do that, putting 2 in for this function is going to be 2 times 2 and then plus 1. That's going to give me an answer of 5. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the b function and come back with a negative 2 minus 2, which is a negative 4. So when I put in 5 here and then plus a negative 4 there, it will help me to simplify that, and we'll go back to it later on. Move over to this side now, the b minus d of negative 1. If I put in a negative 1 into the b function, I get back a negative 1 minus 2. That's a negative 1. If I put a negative 1 in for the d function, then I'm going to have 4 times a negative 1 minus 1, which is a negative 5. So we will hold that for later on. So let's go back down here and try this one. Put a 3 in for the c function. Negative 3 times 3 plus 3. Negative 9 plus 3 is negative 6. So I'll have a negative 6. And if I put 3 in for the d function, it's 4 times 3 minus 1, which is 11. So I'll put that in there. Now let's go over to this side here. And if I put a 2 in for the a function, which I cannot see, there it is. If I put a 2 in for the a function, that's 2 times 2 plus 1, that's going to give me 5. And then put a 2 in for the d function, 4 times 2 minus 1 is going to be 7. Put a 7 there. So now I can reset this and rewrite it as the following, and then go through and simplify. Up here in this spot, we have 5 plus a negative 4. Then we're going to add, according to this, negative 1 minus a negative 5. And then down below that, we have a negative 6 times 11. And then from that, we're going to subtract 5 over 7. So you have to simplify this basic expression now. Starting up on the top, this is going to give you a 1. And then this is a negative 1 plus or a minus negative 5, which is going to change to plus 5, which is a 4. On the bottom, you have a negative 66 minus 5/7. On the top, it's a 5. On the bottom, a negative 66 minus 5/7 is just negative 66 and 5/7. So now we have to alter this a little bit here. We remember the directions where you had to have a fraction as an answer, reduced, and mixed number if necessary. So let's convert that negative 66 and 5/7 into an improper fraction. And you do that by doing 66 times 7 and then adding 5. And that would be 467 over 7, a negative 467 over 7. Remember, on the top, that 5 is really the same as 5 over 1. On the bottom, your fraction is the same. So it would be 5, that's an equal sign, 5 over 1 times a negative 7 over 467, which comes out to be a negative 35 over 467. Okay, so your first move on this is going to have to be here. And you're going to put a 0 in for the a function and a 0 in for the b function. And then add those two answers together. So if I put a 0 in up here for the a function, it cancels this out and this one, and I'm just left with 4. So I'll put a 4 down. If I put a 0 in for the b function, it cancels this part out, but I'm left with 2. So I'll put down the 2 and the plus sign here. If I go to this and put a negative 2 in for the d, if I put a negative 2 here, it's going to give me a 4 from the parentheses, a negative 4. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. So I will put down negative 8. And then if I put a 2, or a negative 2, I should say, in the c function, if I put a negative 2 here, it makes it a positive 2 minus 2, which would be 0. And now the minus sign from here. So we're going to this one now. 3 into the a function. That would be 9, 18. 18 minus 9 is 9, plus 4 is 13. But we have to multiply it by whatever we get for putting 3 into the c function. Putting a 3 there would be negative 3 minus 2, which is negative 5. And the plus sign from here. So now I have this odd looking thing here, b divided by b of 4. Well, if I put 4 in for b, no matter what I get back, if I put 4 in for b again and then divide those two answers, what's the answer going to be? 1. Yeah, so there's no need to even do that. So go back to the left and start simplifying. We have 4 plus 2 is 6, and then we're going to have minus 8. This is gone, minus this quantity, and then plus 1. So that turns out to be 13 times 5 is negative 65, but you have a negative sign out in front of it, so it's plus 65. 6 minus 8 is negative 2, and negative 2 plus 65 is 63. 63 plus 1 is 64. This problem will use the same a, b, c, and d functions from the last problem we did. And this one is a plus b minus c of 4, and then plus bd plus c of 2. We're using the same functions from the last time. So if I put a 4 in to the a function, I would get 16 times 2 is 32, minus 12 is 20, plus 4 is 24. And putting a 4 in the b function, I would get an 18. And then putting a 4 in the c function, I would get a negative 6. So I'm subtracting a negative 6 there. And the plus sign from the middle. Putting a 2 into the b function would give me a 10, and I have to multiply that by putting a 2 into the d function, which would give me a 0. And then add to that putting a 2 into the c function, which would give me a negative 4. So 24 plus 18, and then plus 6, changing that. This cancels out, and we're left with a minus 4. So this will be a 42, and then plus 6 minus 4. 48 minus 4 should be an answer of 44.